Welcome to the deep dive. If you've ever looked at a drawer full of old silverware, or maybe a jar of dusty coins, and wondered if you're sitting on some forgotten money, well, this deep dive is for you.
We are cutting straight to the core of precious metals today. Silver. It's so often overlooked, isn't it? It just sits quietly in a safe, while gold gets all the headlines.
Well, he really does.
But whether you have shiny investment bars, maybe some broken jewelry, or even old U.S. coins, understanding how silver is valued is really the key to unlocking its potential.
Our mission today is to give you the playbook for turning that forgotten silver into instant cash. We're going to unpack the three major types, expose some of the tricks of valuation, and make sure you walk away feeling confident that you're getting the absolute maximum return.
And this isn't just a hobby topic. The value of silver and gold, it provides some really crucial context. Historically, these metals are the ultimate hedge against economic instability.
Right. When trust in paper money fades.
People flock back to tangible assets. Think back to the 1960s, right here in the U.S. As the dollar's value declined, the silver content in our coins actually became worth more than the face value of the coin.
Wow.
It literally forced good silver money out of circulation because, well, people started hoarding it.
That's the ultimate test of intrinsic value, isn't it? And since our focus is turning that value into cash, we should probably give a nod to the local experts who make these kinds of fast, trustworthy transactions possible.
Yeah, that's a great point. This deep dive is supported by Allen Gold and Silver Exchange.
They're known as a top trusted jewelry buyer and seller in Texas, and they specialize in professionally appraising just a huge array of valuables.
Everything from metals, coins, diamonds, antique jewelry, all the way to luxury watches. They really prioritize immediate payment and verifiable value.
So if you're in the Allen area, which is part of the greater DFW region, and you're ready to have your valuables appraised, we really encourage you to call them. The number is 469-403-8356. Okay, let's unpack this. When we look at silver, we can usually divide into three main categories: bullion, sterling, and what people call junk silver.
And these aren't just arbitrary labels. They determine completely different valuation formulas.
So where do we start?
Let's start with the clearest category, bullion. When we say bullion, we're talking about physical precious metal where the value comes almost exclusively from its purity and its weight.
So government-issued coins like the American Silver Eagle or just those plain silver bars you see.
Exactly. These are assets for investment. Valuation is clean. You take the current market price or spot price times the weight plus a small premium.
And that premium just covers the cost of minting it, right? The focus is on the pure metal.
That's it. If you want to hold physical assets, modern bullion coins are usually the way to go because they're so widely recognized and easy to verify.
Okay, so from the clean and simple to the other side of things. What about sterling and general silver scrap?
Right. Sterling is typically an alloy you see in jewelry or maybe high-end tableware, and it's almost always marked with 925.
Meaning it's 92.5% pure silver.
Precisely.
So if I have, I don't know, an antique sterling tea set that's been passed down, should I just assume it's only worth its melt value? That seems like a loss, especially for something that's, beautiful.
That's a fantastic point, and it's where the market kind of splits. If you have a highly collectible intact piece by a famous maker, its value as an artifact might actually exceed its melt value.
But that's probably the exception.
It is. The vast majority of, say, broken chains, mismatched earrings, or even slightly damaged silverware, that's sold for scrap.
And that's where melt value comes in. The buyers, the pawn shops, the exchanges, they purchase this stuff in bulk even if it's broken.
Yes. They're essentially buying the 92.5% silver component by weight and then sending it off to a smelter. They're paying you for the raw metal they can extract after factoring in all their processing costs.
Okay, now let's talk about the most confusing but often the most profitable category for the average person: junk silver.
Junk silver is such a misnomer. It's not trash at all. It's prime metal. It just refers to U.S. coinage minted before 1965. So we're talking dimes, quarters, and half dollars that contain 90% silver.
They're called junk because the collector value is low, but the metal value is way higher than the face value.
Way higher. So if you find a roll of quarters from, say, 1964, that 25 cents written on the coin is basically irrelevant. It's all about the silver inside.
How does that break down?
A standard $1 face value of 90% junk silver, so 4 quarters or 10 dimes, contains exactly 0.715 troy ounces of pure silver.
Oh, wow.
And because of that exact known ratio, these coins trade at a huge premium over their face value. We're talking maybe 20 to 30 times their face value, depending on the spot price that day.
So here's a powerful insight then. If you're deciding between selling investment bullion or a jar of old pre-1965 coins, the coins could actually yield a higher return relative to their face value.
It's very possible. What's fascinating here is that whether we're talking bullion, sterling, or junk silver, the valuation process is highly objective. It's less about subjective appraisal and much more about purity, weight, and trust.
That trust factor seems critical, especially when you look at the pricing. A local buyer is purchasing your metal as an asset they'll have to resell or refine.
Right. They have to factor in their profit margin, but also real operational costs.
What kind of cost?
They're significant. If they sell it online, they could be looking at a 10% eBay fee, plus PayPal fees, secure shipping, insurance. If they send it to a smelter, they have refining and transport costs.
So they have to pay you less than the final melt value just to cover those expenses and stay in business?
They must. And this objective need for a profit margin also explains why the testing process is so rigorous. The risk of counterfeits is just too high.
We hear about the sophisticated gold scams, like drilling out a bar and filling it with tungsten to match the density. Does that happen with silver?
Silver fraud is often simpler, but it's still costly for buyers. The most common issue with silver scrap is actually silver plating being passed off as solid sterling.
So basically worthless metal with a thin silver coating.
Exactly. For coins or small bullion, you'll see non-precious metals, copper, zinc that are cleverly coated and stamped. And you can't just rely on a magnet, because a lot of those base metals are also non-magnetic.
So a professional buyer needs to use more sophisticated verification.
Absolutely. For large items, they might use specific gravity tests to check density, or professional XRF analyzers that can determine purity without damaging the item. They might even have to take a small shaving. When a buyer's paying thousands of dollars, they just can't risk being fooled.
And verification isn't just about purity, it's about authenticity, especially for rare coins or jewelry with stones. Oh, for sure. If your item is a rare coin, its value is determined by its grade and authenticity. For diamonds, certification is paramount. We talk about institutions like GIA or IGI, which verify a stone's quality. Without that piece of paper, a buyer has to price the stone conservatively, which means you get a much lower payout. This brings up a really important question. How do you make sure you're dealing with a trustworthy buyer? Someone who has the right equipment and the expertise to accurately appraise your silver or your coins or your jewelry.
You really need a professional. That is precisely why dealing with a professional exchange is so critical. The fraud risk, the volatile spot price, the need for accurate testing, it all points to needing an expert you can trust.
Which is the role Allen Gold and Silver Exchange fills locally in Texas. They handle all these different types of valuations: metals, coins, diamonds, luxury watches, and they provide immediate payment, backed by their 5-stamp reviews.
Okay, so let's talk strategy. You've done your research, you know the baseline melt value of your item. How do you maximize your return? Well, the first step, as you said, is research. But it's also crucial to understand the difference between the retail price you paid and the current market value.
Right. A ring from a mall jewelry store isn't going to sell for what you paid for it.
Never. Those high-margin stores often sell items for many times the cost of the raw materials. When you sell, you're selling a pre-owned asset. So you have to calibrate your expectations and aim to maximize the return relative to the melt value, not your purchase price.
That's a great distinction. So with realistic expectations, what are the trade-offs between selling locally versus online?
A local buyer, like a professional exchange, offers the huge benefit of immediacy. You get cash on the spot. No shipping headaches.
And you can sell just a small amount, right? A single coin or a few ounces?
Exactly. The main drawback is the price can sometimes be hit or miss. If they just bought a ton of sterling last week, they might offer a slightly lower price this week to manage their inventory.
Okay, and the online route?
The online route flips that. Bullion dealers online often offer a higher buyback premium, especially for high-demand items like American Silver Eagles. They might pay significantly more overspot than a local shop can. Plus, you can lock in a price $204.7.
But there have to be downsides.
Oh, they're substantial. Online dealers often have minimums like $1,000 worth of metal. You're paying for secure shipping, which is complex and adds cost. And then you wait. Payment is usually 1 to 3 business days after they receive and verify your package.
So if you need cash fast, online is not the answer.
It's not.
Speaking of fast cash, what about pawn shops? That's often the first place people think of.
Pawn shops are definitely an option, and they serve a vital function, but you have to understand their business model. They make most of their money on high-interest loans. The sources cited rates as high as 23% a month.
Wow.
So when they buy items outright, their goal is to buy as cheaply as possible. If you decide to sell outright to a pawn shop, having a professional appraisal beforehand is absolutely crucial. Otherwise, you could be leaving hundreds of dollars on the table.
Let's connect this back to the local environment in Allen, Texas. We said gold and silver are considered real wealth. So, why are people in the DFW area selling their precious metals now?
Liquidity. Gold and silver are your insurance against financial crisis, but that insurance only pays out when you convert it to cash you can use.
For an emergency, a new business venture, whatever it might be.
Exactly. People need access to cash right away, and silver, as a physical, verifiable asset, provides that liquidity very, very quickly.
And that's the undeniable advantage of a highly rated local buyer. When you need that cash on the spot, you can't afford the risk or the wait time of an online dealer.
The security and professionalism of the transaction are just paramount. Dealing with an accredited merchant who provides a transparent appraisal means you're minimizing your risk while making sure the whole process is safe and confidential.
And that brings us right back to the local resource we trust. Allen Gold and Silver Exchange provides immediate payment for a huge range of valuables. They offer a trustworthy experience, backed by stellar 5-star reviews, and are the top trusted jewelry buyer and seller in Texas. So, what does this all mean for you? Well, the punchy takeaway is simple. Forget the face value. If you have silver, whether it's bullion, sterling scrap, or old coinage, its value is quantifiable. Your greatest asset is twofold: knowing the melt value yourself and getting a professional appraisal from a trusted local buyer.
Well said.
If you are in Allen, TX, or anywhere in the surrounding Dallas-Fort Worth region and you're looking to turn unused valuables into instant cash, visit a trusted local buyer with 5-star reviews. Call Allen Gold and Silver Exchange at 469-403-8356. Or you can visit their secure location at 550 S Waters, Ard Suite 164 in Allen.
And here's a final thought to just kind of mull over. The historical trend we mentioned, where currencies falter and metals hold their value, that's playing out globally right now.
Yeah.
Consider China, a massive economy that once used a silver standard.
Right.
Today, China is aggressively accumulating massive gold reserves, buying up domestic and international supply. So if major global powers are treating precious metals as the ultimate long-term store of value, what does that imply about the stability of the paper currency in your bank account compared to that silver sitting in your drawer? That is the real, timeless value proposition of precious metals.